Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
And a good Friday to you. Thanks for joining us. It's O'Connor and Company on WMAL. The time is 7:06. I'm Larry O'Connor. And looky there, it's Patrice Onwuka.
Happy Friday, Larry.
It is a Friday. It's
is.
a hot one, though. And so stay indoors, stay in your air conditioning, and stay tuned right here on WMAL. We've got a really busy morning ahead of us. At 8:05, we'll check in with Muriel Bowser, the mayor of the District of Columbia, on a pretty exciting development pertaining to the RFK Stadium site. And then at 8:35, Byron York of the Washington Examiner, the latest on the Biden family scandals. That is all coming up. But right now, we turn to the very important election in the Commonwealth of Virginia this November. That's right. Let's not get so occupied with next year's election. This year in Virginia, it's a critical one. As Governor Youngkin made clear just a couple of weeks ago on this program, he is pulling out all the stops to ensure that he gets that critical majority in the Virginia Senate. And many people are looking at the 30th district as one of the key races. Danica Rome, who currently is a member of the House of Delegates and is now trying to be the senator for the Democrats, will be facing off against this man, Bill Woolf. And he joins us now. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Woolf.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning to you. I've noticed that you're having trouble getting Delegate Rome to actually meet with you and debate you. And it's not only is it insulting to you and the process, but it's incredibly insulting to the voters. That Danica Rome thinks that collecting all of this out-of-state money in fundraising and running a bunch of ads against you is enough to win the election, instead of actually talking about the issues and exchanging different ideas about these issues for the benefit of the voters.
Well, one of the reasons that I jumped into this race is because I've heard from my neighbors and community members and small business owners that they just don't hear from Delegate Rome. They're not communicating with her. She's not reaching out to them. In fact, we were just at a town hall not too long ago to talk about the rising crime and the threat that it's having to our children, and Delegate Rome didn't bother to show up. And so I think some folks are really frustrated because they want to be engaging with their legislators, and she's just been absent.
Well, talk to us about some of the top issues that you're running on, and your background. I mean, I've got to think that you just mentioned crime, that being a key issue. What are you thinking? And talk to us about your background and how it plays into the policies you can bring to bear.
Yes, I was a police officer for over 15 years here in Northern Virginia and focused my career on combating gangs and then human trafficking. And so I have a lot of concern, particularly for our children that are being targeted by these gangs and human traffickers. And so it's a big piece of why I'm standing for state senate. And that is to bring back common sense laws, to make sure that our law enforcement have the tools and resources to do the job that we ask them to do, and that is to keep our communities safe.
As you know, Mr. Woolf, one of Governor Youngkin's key policy points is making sure that parents have a say in how their children are raised, their education, what kind of materials are available in the government-run schools. And when it comes to sexual issues, sexual education, and gender issues, parents, Governor Youngkin believes, should actually be involved in such sensitive issues like that with regard to their children, and the government's schools should not get in the way of that. Danica Rome believes quite the opposite, in fact. Where do you stand on that issue, and do you see this as a key issue, considering the fact, if everyone doesn't already know, Danica Rome made history as one of the first transgender elected officials in this country?
So I'm a father of 6, and so my oldest just turned 18, just graduated from high school, Battlefield High School, and off to college in the fall, which I could tell you, as a first-time college parent, that's quite the transition.
I feel your pain.
But parents, being involved in their children's lives are critically important. I know, with my children, my wife and I are the ones that need to be making the decisions for them, and we need to be involved in their educational process. I mentioned my son graduated from Battlefield High School, but our other kids are homeschooled, and that's what they've chosen that's the education that they've chosen, and we support that. So I think that parents need to have a say, and I think they need to be given choices for how their children are educated properly. It's critically important.
We're speaking this morning with Bill Woolf, Virginia State Senate candidate for the 30th District and Republican ticket. Talk to me about taxes. I'm interested in the economy, and obviously inflation is a big deal. Making sure family budgets are not busted right now. But talk to us about your tax approach and your maybe policies that you have in mind.
Yeah, so I think that taxes absolutely have to be reduced. You know, we just got the reports in Virginia. We had $5.1 billion worth of revenue. Governor Youngkin said, I want to give $1 billion back to the taxpayers, to the residents here in the Commonwealth. And yet the Senate Democrats right now are playing games. They are using the budget and holding the governor hostage. And I don't think that's fair. It's our money as taxpayers. We're the ones that are feeling the pain at the pumps. We're feeling the pain when we go to grocery shopping. As having an 18-year-old, I can tell you we're definitely feeling it. And I think that the governor is trying to help out the people here in Virginia, but it's being blocked. I also think small businesses are being way overtaxed. After my career in law enforcement, I went to the U.S. Department of Justice, served as Director of Human Trafficking Programs and Acting Director at the Office of Victims of Crime. But then I came out about a year and a half ago and became a small business owner here in Virginia. And so having employees, running a small business, I feel the pain every pay period. And we've got to do better because small business really is the engine of our economy.
Bill Woolf is running for Senate in District 30. By the way, there was some redistricting, so please check those maps to ensure that you are in District 30. You may not even know that you are. Mr. Woolf, as a cop, you know exactly the crime issues facing Northern Virginia right now. It's serious, and especially the fentanyl crisis. I'd love for you to sort of talk about that and juxtapose what you would do as a state senator versus the very clear and obvious record that Delegate Danica Roem has built up. Because, I'm sorry, Delegate Roem doesn't have a lot to run on here when it comes to law enforcement.
Well, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up. In fact, somebody that lives in the district happened to call me just this week and had lost one of her best friends to an opioid overdose. And I'm disturbed by the threat that fentanyl and opioids are playing to our community. We're seeing younger and younger people being impacted by this. I remember all too often as a police officer working cases where good people got caught up in this and ended up dying. I think that we've got to be tougher on going after the dealers. And unfortunately, Delegate Roem voted against legislation this past session that would have created tougher penalties for the dealers. And so I actually issued a challenge to her this week. I've not heard back, but I'm asking her on behalf of the residents that live in District 30 to stand with me and pledge to them that whoever wins in November will fight to increase penalties to combat fentanyl.
But let's be clear. If you like things under Glenn Youngkin, and he is, I think, the most popular governor in America right now, then you'll like Bill Woolf as your state senator because he is gotten the full-throated endorsement of Governor Youngkin, and you two have campaigned all across the district together. If you liked Ralph Northam, if you wanted Terry McAuliffe, if you want a state senator, I should say, who goes to California to raise a ton of money and then bring it back and just run attack ads, but not actually engage with you, the voters, or engage with the opponent in this race to actually give voters the dignity and the respect of an actual debate on the issues, then I guess Danica Roem's your person. But it sure seems that in the direction that Virginians seem to be going right now, Bill Woolf is the right choice. The website is Woolf4VA. That's Wolf with 2 O's and the number 4VA.com. And good luck on the trail. Things are going to get dicey. They're going to call you a lot of names, Bill Woolf, just for daring to run against Danica Roem. So I hope you're ready.
Well, listen, you know, I have the heart of the community backing me, and we're doing this for the right reasons. So they can call me whatever names they want. They can spread whatever lies they want. But we're here to do what's right for Virginia and what's right for Manassas Park, and Prince William County. Call me whatever names you want, as long as at the end of the day you call me Mr. Senator. Thank you, Bill Woolf. Good talking with you. Thank you. Have a great weekend, guys. It's 7:16. Let's get straight to Jamie Whitten now in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
On the next Vince Coglianese show, the hot weather is your fault. So our obese world leaders think it's time for you to cut back. Join us 3 o'clock here on WMAL.
Well, a pretty big week for sports fans here in Washington, D.C. Not only did you see the official transfer of ownership of your burgundy and gold, whether you want to keep calling them the Commanders. I don't know if it's going to stay the Commanders very long there, Patrice.
Okay. It's going to be X, the X team.
Elon Musk is going to buy it now, right? The
Why not?
Washington X. I would still like to call them the Redskins. Thank you very much. But then there's the question as to where the Redskins or the Commanders will end up playing. We already know that FedEx days are numbered.
Yes.
The new owner absolutely has to recoup some of those billions of dollars that they spent on the team. So a new stadium will happen. The question is where. And yesterday, it appears as though Mayor Muriel Bowser, who will be joining us on this program, coming up at 8:05. Mayor Muriel Bowser reached an agreement with the Republican leadership in the Oversight Committee with regard to the future of the RFK Stadium site. Here's how our own Barbara Britt reported yesterday.
From the moment I became mayor, I made it a point for the district to get control of RFK.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser noting new legislation on Capitol Hill by GOP Congressman and vocal D.C. crime critic James Comer.
So the legislation that was introduced today will allow for a 99-year lease of RFK, which is very important to us.
Currently, RFK is on federal land. The mayor's made it clear she wants Washington football back in D.C. Barbara Britt, WMAL and WMAL.com.
She also mentioned that she has spoken to the new owner, Josh Harris, specifically about the burgundy and gold moving back to the RFK site.
Josh called me immediately after the sale was complete last week. And, you know, this is what I say, and I've always said it. There's really only one place for the team in this region.
That's right. And meanwhile, Glenn Youngkin has made no secret that he would love the team to be in
To go to
Virginia.
Yeah.
And, of course, I don't know where Wes Moore stands on this, but Governor Hogan certainly wanted the team to
Absolutely,
stay
to
in
stay in
Maryland.
Maryland.
So let the games begin.
Well, this is great, right? I actually do. I side on D.C. because D.C. is central to both Virginia and Maryland. And you've got 295 running right past there. I mean, it's very accessible. You have the metro that makes it accessible as well, whereas FedEx Field, it is a bear to get out there, and I live not far. And so I think I'm pleased to see that home rule is not the death of the city as has been suggested during because of the DC crime bills, but that the Republican-led House can absolutely provide great oversight and work with the mayor to ensure that there's greater redevelopment that comes to the city.
Well,
now, I think it also, though, underscores the need to make sure that area is not crime-ridden and that
Right.
D.C. does not continue to be burdened by the kind of crime that it is right now.
That would certainly be an issue, and we'll run all of these things by Muriel Bowser, the mayor, when she joins us coming up at 8:05. I also think that for the site to work, it's got to be more than just a football stadium, because football, even if you've got a successful football team, that's only, if you're lucky, 9 Sundays a year. What do you do with it the rest of the
about 4 or 5
time,
months.
right? It's got to be a concert venue. It should be a multi-sports venue. You should be able to do
Maybe
multiple
even some
things
housing.
there.
Yeah,
I
or
am
office
generally
space.
in favor of sporting teams being in the downtown area of the city they represent. And I think that the Nationals have proved in a once abandoned part
That's
of our town,
right.
the Nationals
Absolutely. That
have proved
area.
that you can revitalize an area, starting
Yes.
with the difference is baseball is 80 games a year,
Mm-hmm.
and football is not. So that will be certainly a challenge. Also, I'm biased. Hold on. When you're coming from D.C., RFK is good, but when you're coming from home, which is what you would be doing on a Sunday for football, FedEx is a lot easier to get to than RFK from where you
it
live
is. Yes,
and
true.
where I live, right?
It's true, but if you're coming from D.C., it's harder.
When I
right?
go home every day, I take Kenilworth Avenue and I go right past RFK, and it's a bear. It's nasty traffic.
If you're driving, but then that's why you take the metro, right?
Right. Well, there's plenty of headaches with the metro. All I'm saying is they've got some things they need to
The
resolve.
infrastructure is going to be a little bit of a challenge.
And we will talk about many of these things with Mayor Bowser coming up at 8 o'clock. Right now, remember when Saturday Night Live was funny?
When was that?
Well, it was when Tina Fey. Last time it was funny is when Tina Fey was the head writer there.
Oh, yeah.
Although honestly, I think it's not been funny since that great cast of Dennis Miller, Phil Hartman, Michael Myers, Dana Carvey, that whole Kevin Nealon. That said, Tina Fey, who was for a long time the head writer, and she also did the Weekend Update there before she then created 30 Rock and wrote movies and everything. Yeah. Well, she's now in discussions with Lorne Michaels to come back.
Wow.
Not just as this head writer, but actually to replace Lorne Michaels. Lorne Michaels, the man who created Saturday Night Live and still serves as the executive producer, 78 years old, and he's now planning his exit. He's committing to do the show until its 50th anniversary. That would be in the fall of 2024. But now Tina Fey is being considered as the new executive producer. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that it might get funny again because she is funny.
She is funny.
It also tells you that the political perspective on the show will stay the same because Tina Fey is absolutely a left-wing progressive Democrat. So it won't be a bipartisan. They'll find ways to just mock and demean Republicans, and they won't find any humor. They still can't find humor in Joe Biden. Think about that for a minute. You're in the business of comedy and political comedy, and you can't find anything funny about this. We find something tragically funny about this president every day.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this. I love Tina Fey. I mean, I don't like her politics, but that's okay because she makes up for it in her comedy and her creativity. So
yeah, usually it's okay, but sometimes it just because if they really do want to bring back and open up to a wider audience, they got to be more than just funny now. They got to send the message that they find humor on both sides of the political spectrum, in my opinion. It's 7:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now. Now.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
7:36 now on this very busy Friday morning, full of surprises, Patrice.
It really is.
Coming up at 8:05, surprise, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser will be our guest, and that's going to be a blast. And then at 8:35, Byron York on all the Biden scandals. He's been covering it like no one else, as is often the case there at the Washington Examiner. I'm Larry. She's Patrice, and let's get a look at the 2024 presidential sweepstakes, as it is still a very, very hot contest for the Republican nomination, considering the fact that we haven't even had a debate yet.
But it's coming up soon.
It is.
Yeah.
It's now about 3.5 weeks away. It will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It'll be on Fox News, and it'll be co-presented with Young America's Foundation, an organization that is near and dear to my heart. And that makes a lot of sense because Milwaukee, first of all, is going to be where the Republican convention is. Wisconsin, a pretty important state.
Absolutely.
And Young America's Foundation is run by Governor Scott Walker now. He's the president there. He knows a thing or two about Wisconsin politics. So that's going to be a good debate. But as we move up to that debate, there are already a whole lot of developments in this campaign. Probably one of the biggest stories is what many political observers inside and outside the Beltway tend to concede, and that, or not concession, use the word concede, recognize, let's say, that Governor Ron DeSantis has not gotten the traction that probably he had hoped.
Yes.
In the several months now that he has been officially a candidate. In fact, the moment he actually officially declared as a candidate was really sort of the peak. It's been downhill for him in the polls ever since.
I mean, I think there's a 46-point deficit between him and President Trump right now, and he doesn't seem to be closing the gap. That gap seems to be widening.
Yeah, and he has now cut. They had a ton of money.
They were doing well.
Did.
Yeah.
In terms of fundraising. Yeah, and so they hired up, they ramped up, and they created a very big campaign apparatus. And again, here we are, 4 months away from the Iowa caucuses. We're about to have our first debate, and they have already cut their staff by a third.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're, crying defeat or waving the white flag or anything like that. What they're doing is rethinking their strategy, rethinking the way they're approaching this campaign, and they've decided, you know what, maybe lean and mean is a better way to go. Let's not forget, in 2008, when we were having a Republican nomination process, Mitt Romney had all the money, and he was just, at this point, it looked like it was going to be Romney. John McCain at one point was so short-staffed and so out of campaign funds that you'll remember he was just sort of flying commercial and carrying his own bag as he walked onto the plane leading up to Iowa. And then by the time he hit New Hampshire, he won in such or did so much better than anyone ever expected that eventually McCain ended up winning that nomination against Romney. So these things ebb and flow.
They do.
All right. That said, I think that it's fair to say that the DeSantis campaign right now has underperformed, let's say. Yeah. We also had this story earlier in the week that we discussed, and you weren't part of the conversation. I think it was we talked about it with Julie. This whole idea of the curriculum in the state of Florida pertaining to African American history. Kamala Harris made this outrageous lie that now they're teaching middle schoolers in Florida that slaves benefited from slavery, which is not exactly what it says. No. Charles C.W. Cook at National Review found all of all the references to slavery in this curriculum, found one line that talked about the fact that the enslaved Africans who were brought here against their will in horrific conditions did, in fact, learn job skills that eventually benefited them.
That they used after slavery to be able to work.
And so, but this has become an issue now. The African-American scholar who helped write this curriculum actually pushed back against Kamala Harris, saying, listen, my grandfather was one of those slaves. And he was Frederick Douglass actually wrote about this and the fact that they were able to come out of the Civil War era with skills that had been developed. So, I think that it's the issue is absolutely exploited by Kamala Harris and the left to divide us. That said, Tim Scott, a black senator from South Carolina, he took up this issue, and he said that he does think the language, he's not being Kamala Harris here, but he says, all they have to do is tweak the language a little bit and it'll be fine. Because when you hear that line, it does hit some people the wrong way. Here, listen to Tim Scott.
As a country founded upon freedom, the greatest deprivation of freedom was slavery. There's no silver lining in freedom, in slavery. The truth is that anything you can learn, that any benefits that people suggest you had during slavery, you would have had as a free person. What slavery was really about separating families, about mutilating humans, and even raping their wives. It was just devastating. So I would hope that every person in our country, and certainly running for president, would appreciate that. And listen, people have bad days. Sometimes they regret what they say, and we should ask them again to clarify their positions.
So that's a really nuanced position from Senator Scott, and I think it's a smart one. It's saying, let's make this less of an issue. You can amend that line. And by the way, actually, I think in the AP African American Studies course, there's something very similar to that.
Very similar, yeah. The
DeSantis
team
to
put
the
it
line
out.
in contention.
And
exactly.
that was the curriculum that DeSantis said, no, this is not acceptable.
Exactly. So fix that. Take that out there. I mean, you can teach it in a way that says, yes, people gain skills, but this is about freedom at the end of the day, and they didn't have that. Really, this is about politicizing and hitting DeSantis and hitting Florida and hitting back against the righteous and right backlash against CRT and Marxism and BLM and all of that has infiltrated into our education system. So, I like that Tim Scott said this. I mean, I think we also see Representative Donalds from Florida,
Byron Donalds was also pushing back on
it.
So who's also a black congressman there.
Yeah.
So let me just to be clear here, and by the way, for those who don't know, Patrice is also black.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear. So I guess what you're saying is the curriculum is truthful, it's accurate, but the way it's worded right now, at first glance, it sounds like you're saying, sure, slavery was bad, but there was a silver lining.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
which
it sounds
is sort of it strikes your ear as sort of
as tone deaf.
Yeah.
And I think there is nothing wrong. You can absolutely 100% defend all of the curriculum and push back against this this false narrative that Florida does not want to teach the whole history of black history and teach the history of slavery.
You're not agreeing with Kamala Harris.
No, but you can absolutely say, oh, no, we just need to make a small tweak in the language there, but then defend the teaching of history, right, wrong, good, bad, and in between, and not be on the side of the Kamala Harris.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
God forbid. It's 7:40. That's on one side you don't want to be on. What did you just say, Patrice?
I said my predictions.
No. When you heard the music.
Critter News.
You were so excited.
I was.
You heard the music. You're like, oh, Critter News.
And I hate animals, by the way. But
it is time for Critter News, a fan favorite here. We've been talking about the problem that President Biden has with his dogs. And I know that this is a way to beat up on the Bidens as well. We will take advantage of this opportunity to beat up the Bidens. They're terrible people.
It's all merited, by the way. We're not mean-spirited.
No, not at all. But they're horrible people. And they brought that. First of all, they already had a problem with a dog in the White House, a rescued dog named Major, biting people and biting the Secret Service. And it's because they're not good dog owners. And I don't blame them. I mean, I do blame them, but they're the president and first lady.
Busy.
They're pretty busy, right?
Yeah.
And so what do? They have their people take care of the dogs. The Secret Service is there to keep the president safe. They're not there to walk the dog.
And pick up poop.
Right,
poop.
or pick up poop in the Oval Office. So now the Secret Service is in charge of this hostile maniac Cujo, and they get bitten. So they get rid of Major, and they send Major off to the farm, and that should have been the end of the story. But no. We like our photo ops where I'm wearing my aviators and I've got my German Shepherd. So they brought in a new dog named Commander. And who's shocked to learn that the same thing is happening again?
Just biting people in the back and sending them to the hospital.
Not just people, but Secret Service agents who are there to literally take a bullet if necessary. And this is how you treat these men and women?
So can you sue your boss if you're a Secret Service agent for a hostile work environment?
I'd like
and
to
for
find out.
Injuries on the job?
I would love to find out about that. Well, now it turns out that the dog whisperer, Cesar Millan, is offering his services free of charge to the White House. Millan said in an interview, this is the second dog. It's like, hey, guys, it's obviously not the dog. Thank you.
Wow.
Let the dog whisperer come to the White House, and I'll do what I've done for 20 years. Did you ever used to watch the dog whisperer?
I saw
Cesar
clips.
Millan?
I saw clips.
Oh,
yeah.
Meredith, absolutely obsessed. Never missed an episode. This was a mainstay in our house. We have watched them. We have binged them.
Oh, really?
He's got a new series now. Dog Whisperer went the way of his old cable network, and I think he's got a new one called, I can't remember what it's called. But Nat Geo was where Dog Whisperer was, his new one. I'm not sure what the new
Maybe
show
it's
is called,
Caesar's Way. I think it's
is that what it's
National
called?
Geographic.
Anyway, he's a very engaging guy, and he does have a very interesting method of getting dogs to be having. Ultimately, basically, the bottom line is you've got to let the dog know that you're the alpha.
Okay,
you're the lead
gotcha.
dog, and they have to follow. And clearly, that's not going on at the White House. We have no alpha in the White House right now. So maybe Cesar Millan can fix it. Although this White House is more interested in commies like Cesar Chavez than they are
Very
Cesar
true.
Millan.
Very
Thank
true.
you very much. Meanwhile, are you ready to hunt bears in Maryland?
I am not.
I am. Are you? You know that there's been like this string of bear sightings.
Are you kidding me? Yeah.
The bears
Here
are
in
getting
D.C. and approaching the Maryland border. Yeah.
Oh, they're like
Rhode
they're
Island
everywhere.
Avenue.
They're walking down the middle. The bears don't know their proper place. All right, and one of the ways that you sort of thin the herd, as it were, is to hunt them. And so it is time. Maryland Department of Natural Resources is accepting applications for the Bear Hunt Lottery. So prospective hunters in Maryland have a shot at winning one of 950 permits to hunt bears in the Allegheny, Frederick, Garrett, and Washington counties over just a 6-day stretch in October.
Wow.
So in October, there are 6 days where it is legal to hunt bears if you get a permit, and you can only get that permit from winning this lottery. And this is the 20th black bear season, and this is as we've seen an explosion in black bear sightings.
Absolutely.
And let me just say something. First of all, I am not a hunter.
Okay.
I have never been hunting, but I just want to say if any one of our great O'Connor and Company listeners happens to win this lottery,
Okay.
I am ready to go.
You're going to go?
I think of me as a ride along.
Can we do? I would ride along for it. I will stay in the car.
We'll get. No. The ride along is you get out of the car and you hang out. You go with the hunters.
No, I will
to go on the hunt.
I will have the camera ready back at the car.
All right. Well, we can make a thing of it. I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah,
and
I'm in.
You'll be smartly dressed in your pink
Camouflage.
camo.
Pink camouflage. Yes.
And we're ready. And we would love to do it. We'll entertain you. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll hang with you.
Maybe we can do the show live, or maybe a segment or two.
And then we'll do it on a weekend.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll video something.
Sure.
Put
Well,
it up
absolutely.
there.
And I think this would be a very cool thing to do. So
Yes.
So we're ready to go. We want
Let us know.
And we want to watch you bag a black bear in Maryland.
From
and
the
then
comfort
the
of the
only
car.
thing we ask is that you name the bear after us, after one of us. You can pick whichever one you want.
Patrice.
If it's a girl bear,
Yeah.
Sure. We don't want to misgender the bear.
That's breaking another law.
But you can also name the girl bear Loretta.
Julie?
Loretta, after me. That's the female version of... No? Lori?
No.
Maybe? No,
just either Julie or Patrice or Mercedes, too.
But think about that. You can get all the meat from the bear, and then you stuff the bear and have it like, standing up in your den, and you can just name it after O'Connor.
Can I just request a little something to make a little fur stole?
You want
or
to?
something?
We're
Just
really
a little
asking a lot
something.
now. You want some
Just
of the
a little
fur?
ear muff or something? That'll be fun.
Anyway, we can negotiate that. But if
Okay.
you win the Black Bear Lottery, you let us know, and we are going to be your wingman. It's 7:53.